You know, by the state of Florida, you have to submit to a field sobriety test upon request. If not, you can be arrested for...
Not the field sobriety, but a blow test, right?
The officer just misstated the law and the driver called him out on it. Now the officer is going to try and backpedal, but the question is it enough? In this video, we're going to watch the relevant portions of the police officer's dash cam video. Then we're going to put the officer on the stand in court and have him testify for direct examination and cross-examination. Then we'll hear the judge make a ruling as to whether the officer misstated the law and whether he improperly gained consent to do field sobriety exercises. We're taking this case to court, and we're going to see what the judge says.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. The reason I stopped you is your speed back there.
Yes, sir.
You're doing 58 and 45. Got your driver's license and registration on you?
Yes, sir.
How much you had to drink tonight?
What do you think he should say there? I'm going to make a video on this, and I want to get your thoughts.
You know, I had a couple beers with my brother.
How long ago was that?
2-3 hours ago. Pizza place.
Where's that at?
Lazy Moon, Orlando.
So you drove all the way from Orlando?
Yes, sir.
How many is a couple beers?
We split a pitcher.
No Jack Daniels?
No.
Okay. Alright. Well, shut your car off for me real quick.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to step you out here in just a minute. I'm going to see if you're safe to drive, okay?
Alright.
Does your brother live in Orlando?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't have any alcohol in your truck?
No.
Anything else illegal in the truck?
No, sir.
Okay. Alright, once my backup unit gets here, we're going to step out and see if you're impaired too much to drive.
Okay, I don't really want to do a field test.
You don't want to do a field sobriety test? Okay.
My brothers are officers and they told me never to do one.
Okay. That's fine. If you're refusing, you know, by the state of Florida, you have to submit to a field sobriety test upon request. If not, you can be arrested for...
Not the field sobriety, but a blow test, right?
I'm not doing a breathalyzer test. I'm doing field sobriety exercises. See,
I don't have to do that, right?
This is a critical juncture in the video because in Florida, you are not required to perform the roadside sobriety exercises like the pen test, called the HGN, the walk and turn, or the one leg stand. You don't have to do them. If the police officer gains your consent to do those field sobriety exercises by using a misstatement of the law, that's a problem. And that consent that you gave to do those tests is not valid. If the judge finds that the police officer gained consent by misstating the law, then the evidence gained by that ill-gotten consent will be excluded.
that's fine. If you're refusing, you know, by the state of Florida, you have to submit to a field sobriety test upon request. If not, you can be arrested for...
Not the field sobriety, but a blow test, right?
I'm not doing a breathalyzer test. I'm doing field sobriety exercises. See,
I don't have to do that, right?
no, but if you don't, I can arrest you for failure to do them. Now, if you don't want to do them, I'm not telling you have to do them.
I just feel like my anxiety is gonna comprehend or compromise it.
Your call, man. I'm gonna tell you, by looking at your eyes, are red, glossy, bloodshot. Your speech is a little slurred. Okay, so that, and I can smell alcohol. That's what makes me think you've been drinking. Now, if you don't want to do the field sobriety exercises, you don't have to, but I'm gonna have to go off my observations so far. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I get that. I guess I'll give it a go.
Okay, it's your call. I'm not forcing you to do them. But just remember, if you refuse, your license can be suspended up to a year.
Okay. Well,
All right.
I don't want that.
All right, well, step out here for me.
Yes, sir.
So I believe this consent to be invalid, and so therefore, under the exclusionary rule, the resulting roadside sobriety exercises and any additional evidence that's related to this consent should be excluded from trial. That would mean the state would have to prove their DUI case without the evidence of my guy stepping off the line or any of the statements that were made during the roadside sobriety exercises. So this is a big deal. If the judge agrees that the police went too far, he's going to suppress the evidence. If the judge agrees with the state that there was no constitutional violation, then the evidence is going to stay in. Let's go to the courtroom. I love this stuff.
And did you ask him if he had consumed any alcohol that
All right, that's the prosecutor. She's the one representing the state of Florida, and she's the one that's going to be arguing this and asking the officer questions.
I did.
What did he say?
He said he had.
That was the police officer. I think you recognize that voice.
And did you ask the defendant to perform field sobriety exercises?
I did.
Did you at any time tell him that he was required to complete them?
Yes. Well, I asked him to complete them, but he wasn't required to.
Okay, so you did not tell him that he had to do them?
No, I just asked him to perform them.
Did you warn him that if he did not perform them, that there would be consequences?
I said there could be. I have to go off my observations at this point.
And do you have any special training in conducting field sobriety exercises?
I do.
And where's that from?
Through the academy.
And how does the performance of field sobriety exercises relate to measuring a person's normal faculties?
A normal person's faculties could complete the exercise without too many issues.
What happened after you completed the field sobriety exercises?
I placed the defendant in handcuffs,
And what did you do after that?
escorted him to my vehicle.
And did you take him anywhere in your vehicle?
I did. I took him to the police department.
What happened after he had got to the police department?
He was requested to take a breathalyzer.
And do you know if he did provide a blood sample?
He did to Officer Howell.
And do you know what the results of that were?
I do.
What was that?
I believe it was a .054.
0.054?
I believe so, yes.
And what did you do after you learned of the breath result?
I asked the defendant to submit to a urine.
And why did you ask for a urine sample?
Due to the observations I've seen on scene for the DUI.
Did you feel that the observations that you had seen were consistent with a glow of 0.054?
No,
So did you request the urine sample because you felt that he may have been impaired from
I
drugs?
believe there was other impairments, yes.
Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination of those issues?
That was the judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you recognize that voice there? Do I sound the same in the courtroom as I sound on videos?
At this point in time, besides a turn signal, what indicators of impairment have we even seen?
His eyes were watering, bloodshot, and also as soon as I approached the vehicle, I immediately smelled the odor of alcohol. It wasn't after a few minutes of talking to him.
Sure, let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
You understand it's not illegal to have had a couple drinks and drive, correct?
I understand that.
And the odor of alcohol you would expect on somebody who split a pitcher of beer.
Yes,
You're looking for impaired normal faculties, correct?
I am.
Are you familiar with the statutory definition of normal faculties?
No.
Okay. So his ability to see to get his registration was fine, correct?
It was.
His ability to judge distance was fine.
Correct.
His ability to interact with a police officer was fine.
Right.
Everything except for his eyes and the odor were in the normal category.
I believed his speech to be a little slow and slurred.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So we just watched the video. What word do you think he slurred? I didn't hear any.
I don't know what word it was. It was just a total of the conversation. It appeared to be a little slower than normal and possibly a little slurred.
How did you begin that DUI investigation?
By asking him to submit to roadside sobriety exercises.
And do you recall what his response was?
He said that he didn't want to take a breathalyzer.
And what you said on direct examination, a little different than in the video. Told me you'd give him adverse consequences, that he didn't have to do them, is what you testified in direct examination. Is that correct?
I did say that he didn't have to do them in the video.
That's not the complete truth, right?
I did tell him he didn't have to do them.
Did you tell him that his license would be suspended if he refused?
I said they could be, yes.
So tell him he had to do the field sobriety exercises or he'd be arrested.
I didn't tell him he had to do them. I said that he could be.
This is a prepared witness. He's actually spent time with the prosecutor sitting down and talking about the legal issues in this case. He knows where I'm going with my questions and is trying to answer them to fix the legal problem that he has in the body camera video. It's the world we live in. Share this video with someone that you think would appreciate it. Thank you.
So regardless of how that conversation broke down, we can agree there was a mention about your driver's license being suspended.
Yes.
And we can agree that there was a comment about you'll be arrested. If you
Could be. Yes, possibly.
At that point in time, he acquiesced to you, correct? He agrees to, at that point in time, he agrees to do the sobriety exercise.
He did.
No further questions.
Redirect on this issue now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Remember, this is the state's witness. They called him in direct examination. I get my chance to cross-examine him. And then after cross-examination, they get a chance to redirect the officer again, but that redirect is limited to the scope of issues that were brought up under cross-examination.
And did the defendant agree to complete the field sobriety exercises before you ever mentioned a suspension of the driver's license?
I'm not sure exactly where he agreed to
Okay.
do them. I believe he didn't have any issues with the roadside sobriety. He just didn't want to take the breath test.
If you believe that you had probable cause for driving under the influence and someone refused field sobriety exercises, what would you do?
I would take everything into consideration if up to that point, I'd take everything into consideration. If I had enough observations that he was impaired, I would make the arrest.
Nothing further.
Is witness free to go?
Yes, sure.
All right, thank you for your time, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you.
State's next witness.
State arrest, Your Honor.
Defense, you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
In this case, I believe when the officer first approached the vehicle, he made a misstatement of the law regarding the FSC, saying by law you're required to do these, and then the defendant once again said you're talking about the breath test, and then he corrected the officer, and then the officer later, as he's coming out, said that you don't have to do these. All these things he said you don't have to do these, and then he made some statements about you could be arrested, but then when he was getting out of the vehicle, the defendant was wavering back whether to take them or not. He said, now, you don't have to do these, but if you don't, your license will be suspended, could be suspended for up to a year. And I wrote that down. That's exactly what he said. And I think that is a misstatement of law. All those cases stand for the premise that if there is a misstatement of the law, well, the officer can coerce them to do that. They're trying to get the defendant to do it, but telling them a misstatement of the law, I don't think is permissible. So, based upon that, I'm going to rule for the defendant that I believe the field sobriety exercises will not be admissible.
So the judge suppressed the field sobriety exercises. That's a huge win for the case. There's two separate legal arguments in this case. In this particular video, we're only addressing one of those legal arguments. If you'd like to see a second video with that other legal issue, let me know in the comments. Appreciate it. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.